Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we need to talk about something big, and I mean really big. Meta and AMD just announced a landmark AI deal worth over $100 billion, and this could completely reshape the AI chip landscape. If you're an AMD investor, or even if you're just following the AI boom, this is one of the most important announcements of 2026 so far. Let's break this down in a simple way. What actually happened? On February 24th, 2026, Advanced Micro Devices, AMD, announced a massive multi-year partnership with Meta Platforms. Think of this as a long-term supply agreement on steroids. Meta is basically saying, we're going to build the next generation of AI systems, including Llama 4 and beyond, and AMD is going to be one of our primary infrastructure partners. For years, Nvidia has dominated AI chips. They've controlled roughly 80 to 90% of the market. But this deal positions AMD as the first serious large-scale alternative. And the scale here is enormous. This 6-gigawatt deal. What does that even mean? AMD will supply Meta with up to 6 gigawatts of AI computing capacity over 5 years. Now, gigawatts sound abstract, so here's a comparison. 1 gigawatt is roughly enough to power about 100 million LED bulbs or hundreds of thousands of homes. So 6 gigawatts is absolutely massive. This isn't a small data center order. This is industrial-scale AI infrastructure. Meta will use custom Instinct MI450 GPUs, 6th-gen EPYC Venice CPUs. Shipments begin in the second half of 2026. So the revenue impact won't all show up tomorrow, but once it ramps, it could be huge. The interesting twist, Meta gets AMD stock. Now here's where it gets really interesting. AMD issued Meta warrants to buy up to 160 million shares, about 10% of the company, at a symbolic price of 1 cent per share. That sounds crazy, right? But here's the catch. Meta only gets those shares if it hits major chip purchase milestones. AMD's stock price climbs all the way to $600. So think of this as a performance-based loyalty program. AMD is basically saying, if you commit to buying massive amounts of our chips and help us scale to the moon, you get equity upside. It aligns incentives in a powerful way. Why this is so important for AMD? This deal changes AMD's story. AMD used to be seen as a second choice behind Nvidia in AI. But now, it's evolving into something bigger, a rack-scale AI infrastructure architect. Analysts expect AI accelerator market share to climb from about 9% in 2025 to 15% plus by the end of 2026. Overall revenue growth of 35% plus annually through 2030. Data center revenue growing 60% plus annually. That's explosive growth. AMD stock closed today at $213.84, up nearly 9% after the announcement. The market clearly liked what it saw. My price estimates for AMD and why. Let's talk numbers. 1-year target, 2027 $280 to $310. This assumes MI450 shipments ramp successfully. Revenue from Meta and other partners like OpenAI starts flowing. Strong demand continues for AI infrastructure. That's roughly 30 to 40% upside from today's price, reasonable if execution goes well. 2 to 3 years, 2028 to 2029 $450 to $550. By this point, analysts expect EPS to approach $20. AMD could dominate AI inference workloads. Revenue growth remains above 30%. If AMD earns $20 per share and trades at 25-30x earnings, that supports $500 plus. 5 years, 2030 $1,000 plus. This sounds bold, but here's the math. If AMD maintains 35% annual revenue growth through 2030 and data center keeps compounding at 60%, it could approach $1 trillion market cap. That would roughly quadruple the stock from here. But, and this is important, this requires nearly flawless execution. The risks you need to understand. This isn't a guaranteed moonshot. 1. The Nvidia factor. Nvidia still dominates the AI market. If Nvidia cuts prices or launches a dramatically superior chip, AMD's momentum could slow quickly. 2. Dilution. If Meta earns that 10% stake, existing shareholders are diluted. The upside has to be big enough to offset that. 3. Execution risk. The MI450 and Venice chips must perform perfectly. Manufacturing delays or software issues, especially with AMD's ROCm ecosystem, could push Meta back toward Nvidia. 4. Valuation risk. At over $200, AMD already trades at a premium, roughly 40x forward earnings. A lot of good news is already priced in. If growth disappoints, the stock could re-rate lower. Big picture. In simple terms, Meta just made AMD a core pillar of its AI future. If AMD executes, this deal could mark the moment it truly became a first-tier AI infrastructure company. If it stumbles, Nvidia remains king. This is one of those turning point announcements we may look back on years from now. If you found this breakdown helpful, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support. If you enjoy deep dives into AI stocks, semiconductors, and long-term investing strategies, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And let me know in the comments, are you buying AMD after this deal? Or do you think Nvidia is still untouchable? Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.